Emergency is an executive meeting just before this, so thank you for your patience as we get started. Welcome to the October meeting of CB11's Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott. I am the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:43 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Khalid Nixon, the staff liaison to our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. If you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. If you have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to this discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Committee members, please answer present when your name is called.
Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so we have 10 committee members in total. 6 are needed for a quorum. Rosa Diaz,
Present.
Jessica Elliott,
Present.
David Giordano,
Present.
Jewel Jones,
Present.
Connie Lee,
Present.
Malik McCullough, Debbie Quinones, Debbie Quinones, okay. Asher Rodriguez,
Present.
Russell Schuler,
Present.
Michelle Wilsar Clement,
Present.
the quorum chair.
Thank you. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there is no objection, we'll adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the last meeting are adopted. The minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by myself. Let's move along to our first item on the agenda, announcements. We have a few of them. The first is the We Act Spanish Civic Engagement Working Group. It is an organization that helps to teach about environmental justice and their the current action with environmental justice in Spanish. Their next meeting is to be held on October 12th. And I'm sure if you have any questions, you can reach out to our committee member, Jewel Jones, for more information. The second announcement is Esplanade Friends has announced that their newest art exhibit that they presented on last week. Do you want to make this announcement?
No, but it has been canceled.
I know, I was going to say that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you though. Thank you for helping me get there. The newest art exhibit, We Care for Harlem Crochet Mural, which was presented to our committee last month, originally was going to be held this Saturday, October 7th from 2 to 4, but has been canceled for rain. The rain date will be Sunday, October 29th at 12 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on the first two announcements? Moving along, third announcement. The Department of Buildings has shared the following local law 97 sustainability link, which will be available in the minutes. Please note that these are proposed rules until they are effective after public comment, and there is a public hearing scheduled for October 24th. The next two announcements are from Parks, our city agencies, Parks and DEP, with some requests to the community at large. So the Department of Parks and Recreation is asking that if anyone has any knowledge of parks or playgrounds experiencing lighting issues, to let the community board and parks know so that we can get those resolved before the winter. The second, DEP asks that residents help bring flooding issues to their attention. If there are any locations that are experiencing flooding, please let me know. My email address, eosp@cb11m.org. You can also call 311 during flood events to report flooding issues in real time. The final announcement is that, okay, sorry. There's a notice of ongoing work with tree replacement at Central Park's Conservatory Garden, which will soon be available on the CB11 website. Essentially, there's a number of trees that form two pathways that are covered in arches of tree, and those trees unfortunately are diseased and they are being replaced. Yes, go ahead.
Cherry trees?
No, not cherry trees. I forget the name of the tree. Do you remember?
I'd have to look in email, yeah.
But whatever it is, they're replacing 44 trees in kind, essentially, with disease-resistant trees. And obviously, they're not gonna have immediately the same canopy effect, but within a couple of years, they will hopefully be back to where they were today.
Hmm.
Is that on the pedestal on the up?
It's flanking,
Yeah.
flanking the,
Grass?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I know that takes.
Okay, yeah, it's beautiful, so I'm excited that they're getting it done. Any other announcements? Angel, our district manager.
Hello, everyone. Community Board 11 and Union Settlement are co-hosting a financial literacy workshop series. That's gonna be held, at the new Sendero Verde building at 71 East 111th Street from 5:30 to 7:30. Beginning on October 18th, every Wednesday until November 8th, and then again on November 9th. The information on how to register is available on the community events page on our website.
Thank you. Any other announcements? All right, moving along to our informational updates. First, we'll hear from our city agencies. Is there anyone from the Department of Parks and Recreation who would like to give an update to our committee? David? No, no one from Parks?
I see Donna Milza, but she refused to be a panelist.
Okay.
So maybe she might not have.
All right, we'll come back to you, Parks. Is there anyone from DSNY, Department of Sanitation, here to give an informational update? Great. Anyone from the Department of Environmental Protection? Present today? Okay, I'm gonna give Parks one last chance. Is there anyone from Parks on our call today?
We do have Parks people, but I think they're for the agenda items that we have later.
Okay. All right, well, we'll move along. Just as an update to.
You're muted now.
Can you hear us?
There was an echo.
Yeah.
Properly now? Hello?
That's good. That's good.
Okay, did you all hear our requests for Parks, DSNY or DEP announcements? And there were no responses. Excellent. All right, so I was just giving an update to our committee that the Department of Sanitation, we were unable to schedule a district budget consultation with them. We followed up multiple times and there were no responses received to our questions. In regards to DEP, we also were concerned that we were not going to be able to have a district budget consultation in advance of our meeting today to finalize our requests. They sent an email last night after 6 o'clock with some responses to our questions and some additional information, which I've added to the link that Angel has shared via email to all of the board members in case you would like to take a look at it. And I spoke with Humberto from DEP this morning for about 20 minutes. And I asked him about our one request for DEP, which we can talk about when we get to that item of the agenda. Any questions? Okay. All right, are there any parks advocacy groups here who would like to give an update to the committee? I see Crystal Glover.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, as you know, I'm not a member, I'm just the public, but, I'm concerned about a park over here at 99th between, 2nd and 3rd Avenue. It was built when Diana Ayala, well, she's still a deputy. She was a deputy then, I believe. Not Melissa Mark Barberita, the other one. The one before these city council people that's in there now, the ones before the ones that's in there now. Anyway, the park has no name. I went online to do the map thing, and it doesn't even have any name. It's just like green, and you don't see anything giving a name for it. From what I understand, the tenant association in Washington Houses had an input with the participatory budgeting. At that time, they worked with Diana Ayala to make the park accessible for kids with disabilities and stuff like that. So the park is fenced in. It's at 99th between 2nd and 3rd. It's closer to 2nd Avenue than it is to 3rd. It's not Cherry Tree. Cherry Tree is on 3rd Avenue at 99th Street. The problem is it's fenced in. It's been fenced in now for like 3 years. Now there's children going in there playing. There's children going in there. Our Washington Houses Management Office is well aware of what's happening. From what I was told, it's the Parks Department's responsibility. It's not City Council responsibility. Meanwhile, children are going in there and playing, lots of children. And are they going to wait till a kid dies before they do something with it? I just had to throw that out. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully somebody's taking note and will address it.
Yes, thank you so much, Crystal. I am taking notes, and I unfortunately don't have any immediate answers for you right now, but we will follow up on our end and get back to you. Can you drop do you mind giving us your email address in the chat?
You have it, but I'll put it in there.
Okay,
That's how I was invited to this meeting, but you want me to put it in there again? You have it? Obviously. Huh?
I don't know. Do you have it?
No.
Okay.
Crystal, can you give me your email, please?
Can she do this?
Who am I speaking to?
This is Khalid. I'm assistant district manager here. Can you give me your email, please?
Sure can. That's
Okay, give me 1 second. Wait, 1 second. Go ahead, Crystal. Sorry.
It's W-A like apple, L like Lucy, butterfly. It's exactly the way I spelled it. Wale butterfly at
Go ahead, butterfly.
at gmail.com.
Okay, all right. So I'll follow up with you tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Crystal.
You're
Going
welcome.
back to any parks advocacy groups who would like to give an update to our committee. Please raise your hand through Zoom. Carl, you're going to give your presentation, right?
Yep, that's all.
Okay, that's later on in our agenda. I'll come back to you.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to move along then to keep us going here. Are there any other community-based organizations who would like to give an update?
Oh, I see Donna Milza has her.
Donna Milza?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm having a lot of issues with my phone tonight. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, so I just wanted to report on a few things we have going on Randall's Island. We just had about 1,000 people out for our Harvest Festival, which was last Sunday. We have some upcoming events. Our final farm volunteer day is coming this Sunday from 10 to 1 on the urban farm. We have a fungus festival coming up on Sunday, October 15th, again on the urban farm from 11 to 3. We have a Boo Bash, which will be the final big event for the season. Come dressed up, ready to dance. They'll have a DJ, hula hooping, a dance class. That's going to be Saturday, October 28th from 12 to 3 in the White Garden, which is by Field 74. We also have Team River, which is our recruiting volunteer program. We'll continue on Wednesdays and have additional opportunities on Saturdays starting in November. And finally, join our fall bird tour with ecologist and educator Gabriel Willow on October 14th, starting at 10 a.m. We hope to see you on Randall's Island.
Thank you so much, Donna. Are there any questions for Randall's Island Park Alliance? Michelle,
You said on October the 15th that there's going to be a fungi uh festival of some
Yes.
sort?
Yes, it's a fungus festival. It's a program that's planned by our partner, the New York Mycologic Society, which is going to be October 15th from 11 to 3 on the urban farm.
Is there anything else going to be happening with fungus on another date and time? Like, is there
I
something
just
like
went
that
through.
ongoing? Pardon?
Well, these are the events that are coming up that I just spoke about. But if you wanted to see anything else, you can check out our site at Randall's Island. But these are the main events that are coming up right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
I don't see any other raised hands, so thank you, Donna, for your informational update.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thank
we'll
you.
move along in our agenda. Our first topic will be the district needs and budget process. So as we've noted, we've been able to have district consultations with 2 out of 3 of the city agencies that we are working with. You all have received a survey with the requests that we had put together. So hopefully you all have responded to that. I'm gonna look at it now and it will help us with our prioritization. Let's see, do you want me to share my screen?
If you have the budget request?
Yeah.
Is that what you share? You can share that if you have.
I just won't be able to take notes.
Okay, then I'll
Okay.
share the budget request, but I need to find, the survey itself.
I have the survey.
Perfect, okay.
All right. So at this meeting, we'll need to finalize the requests and the prioritization. I think we know that we have too many requests, and we will have to remove a handful of requests based on our prioritization. We were able to touch base with Parks and update the requests in alignment with what their requests are, and they had similar requests that they're putting forward to the powers that be about renovations everywhere from Peter Minuet Playground to East River Playground, Alice Cornegay Triangle, etc. So I think there's a lot of overlap, but there's a lot of need. So we'll have to pick the ones that we think are the most necessary at this time. And I think just as we heard about the public resident survey last month, and just to let you all know that we did receive specific requests about River East Playground and Peter Minuet Playground from the schools and the school district council people for the needs that those 2 playgrounds are facing. According to our survey, maybe I'll just share my screen with the survey really quick first so that you can see it.
You want to show us? Okay,
Yeah, just go through that first and then we'll start.
go ahead.
Okay. It's very small.
You might be able to zoom in. Oh, that's better.
All right, that feels better. It feels bad on my screen, but. All right, so as you know, we had I think 7 existing capital requests. I think a few that we'll go through in a minute, but it seemed that funding to implement a public restroom building at the Harlem Greenway Link Park at the Esplanade is obviously our top priority, followed by funding to Peter Minuet Playground. And then we have a 4-way tie between the sanitation garage, which we know is important, the public restroom building at Thomas Jefferson Park, the funding to create a green infrastructure corridor along East 106th Street, and to repair playground water features throughout Manhattan Community District 11. There was only 1 vote for the Marcus Garvey Park Acropolis. And this everyone's, did we only get 4 responses? David's filling it out right now.
Okay.
Alright. Our top priority for new capital requests appears to be, the full renovation of playground. Followed by Cherry Tree Park, the public restroom sorry, this was for, Poor Richard's Playground. If I didn't make that clear, it is not clear in this, I'm sorry.
Poor Richard's Playground, wasn't that just?
It was just renovated, but Parks had noted in our district budget consultation that though the park itself was renovated and they're also resurfacing the basketball courts with sport time, that the public restroom building itself was not part of the renovation of the playground. And that it is Parks'
Ew.
desire that it get upgraded so that it is ADA accessible. And it is not currently.
So they just built around it?
They built around it. As you know, public restrooms are very expensive and. All right, PS. PS 155 playground was also a high priority. Alice Cornegay Triangle was a high priority. And the rest, fell to the lower end. The final budget question was about the, top 2 expense requests. These we only had 4. So obviously trash cans on every major corner of our streets and intersections is still the top priority. And then there's been a split vote between new plant trees and the maintenance of those trees and vacant lot cleaning.
So what are the ones that we have to like, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have to clearly like, because there's a couple of ties, so what are the ones that have ties and we have to basically?
Well, I think we should go through it probably at a holistic level. Do you agree? Okay, we can just go one by one potentially, and then do the priority at the end. And apologies that this is before all of our presentations. This is very important. So thank you for your patience as we work through these things. Okay,
You're sharing that.
I am sharing. Yes, thank you. Do you mind helping me take notes or?
I can share and take notes because you're better at it.
Okay, well, I like to have control.
Okay, then do that. Go ahead, no worries.
Okay, the first request was the sanitation garage, which we had recommended to keep and revise. The revision is provide a permanent state-of-the-art dual district sanitation garage to service Manhattan Community Districts 10 and 11 that allows for the full consolidation of all sanitation uses in the district in one location, should the final site be the former Potamkin site or otherwise. As committed to in the East Harlem Points of Agreement, the new building should meet or exceed LEED Gold standards and be equipped with the most advanced indoor air filtration systems and zero emission sanitation trucks. Are there any adjustments to the wording of this or changes whether we should include it? Sorry, I'll make
I
it
like it
bigger.
the way it is. It is tiny, but I like it the way it is.
Go ahead, Joel.
Just to clarify, you said DSNY has not provided any response whatsoever. So I just wanted this for the record, I was gonna say this earlier, just to express outrage that
Yes.
They don't feel it's necessary to respond to this and also to attend meetings. I have some representative here at these meetings, so I just, I express my sincere outrage over this.
Outrage is shared.
Okay.
Michelle,
And even though that, yes, I agree. Even though that a garage is made,
yes,
built, will it be used?
they're using
Oh,
the
it's
current
currently
site now.
used.
Yeah, they're using the
The
current
current-
temporary Potamkin building currently.
I pass by there every day. During the other.
There really is.
I still don't get what was the point of building a whole new building for it to be temporary,
Right.
if that makes sense. I don't,
Temporary, you have to do this when you say temporary.
yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's my main problem with it, because if they're gonna tear it down, or let's say, cause let's go by what the definition of temporary is, even though we know it's probably not the actual definition of temporary. They're gonna have to tear that down, that's gonna cause so much road disruption and just all the carbon emissions. It doesn't make sense. That's, yeah.
As an architect, you do not build a building just to tear it down and build it. Go ahead.
I think sometimes precedents are set, right? So down in Chelsea, they built this wonderful, this is a city. Why should we not have what is throughout the city? And why should we get temporary? it's like, again, it's a slap in the face. It's, how many years did they build the Chelsea, right? How many years have we been advocating through this board, through Met, through We Act, to make this change? And we have two in this community.
In the cities and the other ones.
Yeah, we did go to, Xavier and I attended the sanitation walkthrough, which we talked about last time, but they are waiting for a few things to be completed in the building before the 99th Street uses can be moved to this location. But we are also, as I've mentioned, working with the Independent Budget Office, and they actually did follow up that they do not have any updates for us yet ahead of budget. But they are making good progress, and they will be in touch with us soon. They're doing research basically on our behalf to understand how much is DSNY spending on sanitation garages throughout Manhattan, throughout the city, compared to East Harlem, and what's holding this up. All right, so I'm gonna assume that this continues to be a high priority rank.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. The next ask is for the public restroom at Thomas Jefferson Park. The recommendation was that we keep and revise this. The new wording is provide funding for the construction of a public restroom building at Thomas Jefferson Park. There are currently no permanent public restroom facilities available to the 15.5 acre park. Currently, park visitors use 2 non-locking porta potties on site. The Department of Parks and Recreation recently presented the Portland Loo pilot project, but the community board believes that while it may be a good temporary solution, that a full public restroom is needed for equity and dignity of East Harlem residents. Yeah. Okay, great.
Also with the Target closing, that's where most people go use the bathroom, because not everyone's gonna have a Target, Costco card to go into the bathroom.
Right.
So now there's gonna be no bathroom in there, basically, because the restaurants aren't gonna let people use the bathroom.
Okay, so this will continue to be our high priority.
Yes.
Any changes to the wording? Oh, Michelle, did you have a question? Okay, I do want to keep it moving. I know there's a lot to be said about all of these requests, obviously. We have a couple to go through, so.
For that one, should we add with the Target closing? That there won't be any bathroom within distance up there, because maybe that just like shows a lot more to me that, because they could be like, oh, they could just walk to the mall, it's not that far, but there's no like.
Yeah, is there any disagreement with adding that, Connie, sorry?
I don't disagree, but maybe we can request access to the bathroom that's in the recreation center in Thomas Jefferson Park. There is a bathroom.
At the pool, yeah.
That no one's allowed to use. Maybe in the meantime, they allow non-members to use the bathroom. It is a public building.
Bless you. At should I say East River Plaza and at the pool, what is it that what is that? Rec Center, thank you. Creation Center at Thomas Jefferson. Are not available for use. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we say something about Target?
We said East River Plaza generally.
Yeah.
You know, it gets a little, you know, we don't want them to then come back and use that, like people want to use in Target for the bathroom.
Yeah.
So we have a more large issue. And that, I think the point Connie made about the public space,
Okay,
you know,
so you want to take out the,
I think. I just think we might be adding something that we don't
Okay.
want to add to something else.
is that okay? After? Okay, all right, so we'll include the recreation center. Is not available for use. Okay, the next one is the DEP request for evaluating a public location or property for green infrastructure. The request was, we had recommended that we keep it and revise it. The revised language is conduct a feasibility study and provide the necessary funding to create a green infrastructure corridor along the East 106th Street as conceptualized in the vision plan for a resilient East Harlem. In addition, this is language that I added today, actually, based on the conversations with DEP. I'll highlight it. In addition, study catchment basins with DOT, determine if sewer systems are in need of upgrading, and study street regrading and median islands with DOT. East Harlem experiences extreme flood risk at the edge and within the interior of the district. All scales of green infrastructure, including but not limited to catchment basins, rain gardens, bioswales, et cetera, should be studied and implemented where possible to assist in mitigating risk along the corridor. one note about this is that I think we should make a supplemental and exactly the same request to DOT. I don't know how we go about doing that.
We can definitely get in touch with Humberto and then,
Well, DOT, well, this
excuse
is,
me, I'm sorry, with Raphael,
Okay.
with Raphael and initiate how we can focus on doing that.
would that come from our committee or would it come
It
from
would
like
come from
public safety?
and
Okay,
but it can be a joint, operation or initiative.
because we have another
Like,
one of
it's
those.
not-
Yeah, I think sometimes it's better to keep it as joint than two separate, because you can split votes
Yeah,
with people as opposed to one. Like if I'm voting for this one, you're voting for that one,
right,
but if they're together, we're both voting.
okay.
You have a larger number.
So we have overlap in one area
Yes.
with youth and education that we should probably condense into one. Okay, maybe we leave it on yours because we have too many.
Yep, okay.
Spot.
We don't have as many as Paul.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Are there any questions or changes, Michelle?
It's just that this is just something that I think, I don't know how you would add to it. But because garbage flows on top of the drainage
Yes.
area, that produces more pooling of water. So if there's a way to say that because it's DOS and DOT.
Yeah,
And DOS did not show up to this gathering.
right,
DSNY.
DSNY.
DSNY, I meant DSNY, did not show up to this gathering. It shows how much they are interested in what we have to say.
Is it, so I'll just work with DSNY for trash issues with the street, what are those called?
For street drainage,
So
street
that-
drainage,
Sewers?
This, you mean the street sweeper? So you're
No,
talking
not
about
the
this,
sweeper.
but you're talking about trash that flows into the drainage, right? That accumulates because the street sweepers can't do their job.
Also,
and
people
that's-
just throw trash in there.
And we'll just throw the trash there and then.
and also when there's flooding,
Yeah.
the drains get completely clogged up.
Yes,
And so that it exacerbates the whole problem of,
yeah, it's a multi-tier issue. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
it just,
DP
everything
does-
compounds on itself.
DP does like,
A survey.
Heavy duty, well, I was gonna say they do like a heavy duty, like, drain cleaning,
Mhm.
like, so say for example, the corner right there, serious, clogging, and aside from just like sweeping.
what happened on
over
Saturday? Did
on-
you see anything happen Saturday that's effective? Because
Well,
Okay.
let me just say like the rain that we had last weekend. This office should have been flooded based off of how that
Okay,
corner
okay.
normally is, but they did some work very recently. I think mostly because of the Park Avenue viaduct work that's going on, so they're just taking care of anything around the corners that might be impacted.
Mhm.
But definitely if they didn't do that, I expect this office has been flooded
Good to know.
for sure. So, we can definitely coordinate with DOT and DET regarding.
Yeah, DEP seemed like they were willing to, and that they have experience working well with their sister agencies.
Mhm.
The problem is that this process doesn't allow for that to be made clear, so I think that if we send this request to both DOT and DEP, it has more of a likelihood of moving forward in some way, but I don't think we necessarily need to include DSNY. Because we have other requests for them about trash. I don't know, what do you think?
Street sweeping in general.
Well, for DSNY, I mean, when the street on Third Avenue was crumbled up so that they can put down
Yeah.
more tar,
Milling and paving? You mean?
I don't know the exact name.
Repaving, yeah,
Or the re-
Before it was repaved.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Garbage was not taken for the weeks
Oh.
that it was in that condition.
Hmm.
And so it just kept accumulating on the side, which meant anytime it rained, all that garbage went on top of the drain system and it flooded
Hmm.
every single time. Now, I know that DEP goes and all around the city and they unclog the different drains, and we've had them and they've spoken about it
Yeah.
a few times. But it's not on a regular basis where after every time it
Yeah, there you go. You have to make-
rains,
Probably have to make a, yeah.
they do
that's why
that.
we made that announcement earlier, because that was one of the things we talked about on the phone, was that they rely on people to let them know when the sewers aren't operating the way that they should be, but that they do studies and they've been, looking at and analyzing which, of those need to be upgraded or, flushed out or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, so do you think it answers your need to have the DSNY element in here?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well,
I think it might be better in another spot where it doesn't get hidden away.
okay, well then let's consider that as we
Just
move.
continue.
Okay, great. The next request was, provide a new, expansion to a building in a park. This is the public restroom at the East Harlem, the Harlem Greenway Link. Was a request that we intend to keep and that we wanted to revise. The revision is provide funding to implement a public restroom building at the future entry point to the site for the Harlem Greenway Link Park at the East River Esplanade. EDC and NYC Parks have provided a designated site within the design for the forthcoming project. The Harlem Greenway Link will create 7 acres of waterfront, parkland between 125th Streets and 132nd Streets for East Harlem residents and visitors to enjoy. However, lack of public restrooms will impact the usability and equity of these park spaces. Funding should be explored in partnership with elected officials, and in addition, a feasibility study should be conducted to determine the anticipated costs to bring the required utility lines to the waterfront in order to implement additional public restrooms along the Esplanade Park spaces. And then, just so you all know, Parks has an EDC, Parks has requested a letter of support, which is in line with our previous positions for the downtown revitalization initiative grant that they were applying for this restroom. And as we all know, we're also working with the mayor's office, the MVPO about their bathroom initiative and looking specifically at the sites that we've noted in these requests. Is there any adjustment to this request?
Oh, answer.
Okay, moving along. All right, Marcus Garvey. We decided to keep and revise this one to remove the lighting requests and focus on the stairs. So funding should be allocated for the reconstruction of the Marcus Garvey Park Acropolis path staircases and walls leading up to the fire watchtower. Parks estimates that the rehabilitation will cost about 15 million more in additional funding, and that came out of our conversation with Parks. Any changes or adjustments to this request? Okay, moving along. Another request for park building, Parks. Oh, this was about playground water features not working or not turned on. We passed along, obviously Parks has, access to our Parks tours document. And we sent a separate email to Parks. Basically, Steve said, if we ever see a water fountain not working, for example, the Each One Teach One park did not have a working water fountain. And there were a couple other parks that did not have working water fountains. We were told to make Parks Department aware of those issues immediately. They also were a little confused about why certain water features for the playground kids elements of the parks were not working. But we sent them the list of the ones that we did not see in operation during our summer parks tours. And they said that they do not think it requires us to submit this as a request because they're taking care of it actively. So
We won't know till next time.
hard to say. So our recommendation was to remove this request. And I think that's fair, honestly. Does anyone disagree?
I just
Yes,
want us to follow up on it.
yeah, oh, definitely.
I mean, sometimes it's just a point of them turning the fountain
Right,
on.
Yeah.
Something so simple.
yeah,
There was a couple when we were doing the tours, and I was like, oh yeah, I just had to flip the switch and go.
Mhm.
yeah. And we asked about timing, like are ours turned on at the same time as everyone else's? They went through the exact process and they did confirm that it is. But you know, hard to say. All right, moving along. The next was, yeah, well, water fountains where you physically drink from are huge. So if anyone sees parks where they're not working, we should be on top of that.
I just want to add. so
Yes.
I live right across from a park.
Yeah,
Somebody comes 6 o'clock, 5:30, opens it up, turns it on and goes, opens another thing.
yeah,
Then they come back and turn on the water fountain.
okay,
So they open the bathrooms, make sure those things are on. So generally, there's not somebody in each playground at the same time, 10 o'clock and turning it on.
yeah.
So
I
you know,
meant during the season, at the beginning of the season.
at the beginning, right, but you still have to go in the morning and crank the thing to make the water come out through water pipes.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the sprinklers.
Yeah.
Right, so somebody has to physically do that, and there's not somebody in each off. So it doesn't, so they mean just the time frame,
Yeah, apparently they turn it on at the beginning of summer
right? But then somebody has to go turn it on that morning,
every day.
Every morning.
every morning.
I don't know that every water feature at every playground is exactly the same, because it seems like,
No, sprinklers, whatever they have.
yeah,
There's a big pipe they get and they turn this pole to turn on the water that just sends it to anything in that vicinity. So water fountains are on. If the water fountain's not working, it's not working.
Right.
But sprinklers should be on once you turn it on. So if you go in a park and that sprinkler's not on, somebody didn't come turn it on.
okay.
Well, I think the newer ones are on that.
No.
No.
I'm
no.
There's somebody that comes at the end of the day at the park and turns it off.
All right, we're gonna go to Connie, and then if
Sorry.
you wanna
I think
speak.
this is something that we need to take up with the district manager.
All right, so then I sent that list to Steve and his group. Can the next steps just be that before our next meeting, I follow up and give a report back next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Jewel.
I'm sorry. So when you're saying water features and David is specifically saying fountain and sprinkler.
It's hard to tell the difference, yeah.
So what are we saying? Are we saying just
That we
everything,
should-
everything that water comes
Well,
out?
we're taking it off.
Yeah, we're taking it off.
Okay, okay,
It's really following up
Yeah.
with them and.
It's
Okay.
the spray play features for children.
okay.
The ones that have the buttons, and we pushed every button on the park stores. Some came on, some did
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Michelle?
I just want to emphasize, because it's gonna just get hotter.
Yeah.
This is something that is absolutely necessary if we're not gonna just be flooding our system with open fire hydrants.
Okay. Follow up with parks. The next meeting.
I live right opposite a playground. I hear exactly when it goes on.
All right, I'm gonna keep us moving because I know we have more to go through. Park, Peter Minuet Playground. I spoke with Bill Gladstone, the principal, yesterday. And he's in agreement with this request. So funding should be allocated. This is an existing request that we determined to keep and revise. His only statement about, he's not sure whether or not it requires a public restroom. So if there was anything that he would change about, it would be potentially removing the request for the public restroom. So funding should be allocated to provide a full renovation of Peter Minuet Playground in collaboration with PSMS 108 students and faculty. A design should be created with additional green space, new gates, fences, reuse of the handball courts, a public restroom, new playground equipment, the preservation of the dolphin statue, and the ongoing programming or replacement of the soccer pitch. Park should also work with the school to assess the potential for a name change for the playground as requested by PSMS 108, which we heard is a very difficult process, but Parks, PSMS is looking to do it. Asher.
This is the one on 108 Street.
Yes.
I'm just making sure, that there's a couple of playgrounds.
David, did you have a question?
I did, but just.
Okay, Michelle, sorry.
I think it's illogical to ever have a playground without a bathroom.
Okay.
I mean, yes, it's connected, the kids that go to the school that use it, but during the weekends or in the afternoon or the evening, those same children do not have access to the school.
Yeah.
And they will need to have a restroom.
Yeah.
It's illogical not to have a playground and a restroom together.
Agree, and I think, we all acknowledge the issues of public restrooms generally across the district. The concern from the principal was that if we were to include a public restroom, that it would decrease the amount of funding available to do playground equipment and other, he is really interested in getting greenery out there. It's pretty much a bunch of asphalt. So it's up to y'all. Do you want to include the restroom or not?
I don't think, if they approve it, they gotta approve more money for the
Right,
restroom, because we already know what that whole bit is. And they want us to approve other projects without a restroom. So I think we should include it, and then they'll make that decision. And I'm also wondering, maybe this one we wanna put for both our committees.
Yeah.
Because it is youth again, and we may get a stronger kind of thing
Yeah.
for that as well.
There's a few of them like that, so I think you and I should probably just have an offline.
That's
discussion.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they should be kind of calm, because they're coming out of both.
Oh, of course, obviously. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it as is unless there's any concerns. All right, moving along. The next one is East River Playground or River East Playground. Funding to request a full, this is a new request. All the next requests are new requests. So these are the ones I think I think we all agree that the ones that we've spoken about, we need to keep, and we can talk about prioritization quickly at the end. These all are new requests, and based on our survey, we should pick, the highest priorities, and the rest can be low, so. Funding to be allocated to provide a full renovation of River East Playground. The park consists of a large amount of asphalt and is in need of green spaces and trees. The adjacent elementary school has noted a desire to renovate the park, provide a new play structure and programming elements in the design, and to resolve canine waste issues and other dangerous objects in the playground. Any changes to the ranking or, well, we'll come to ranking at the end. Any changes to the wording? Okay, moving along. Each one teach one playground, provide funding to fix non-operational lighting and to address issues with rat populations. This was with Malik. Any changes? Okay. The next is Alice Cornelia Triangle. Funding should be allocated to provide a full renovation of the triangle. The playground consists of a large amount of asphalt and paved areas and is in need of the addition of green spaces and additional trees. The playground is in need of refurbishment for the play equipment and programming for large sections of the park that are underutilized. Any changes for the wording of this request? Eugene McCabe Field, funding should be provided to allow for necessary field maintenance, patching and resurfacing of the turf areas, fence repair, and for the provision of additional seating at Eugene McCabe Field. Any changes to the wording of this request? Michelle?
I'm just curious, are any of these have been noted to be flooded?
Not that I'm aware of. Unless anyone has any knowledge. Connie?
Question about Eugene Field.
Yep.
In recent years, Steve Simon had mentioned the possibility of doing some work there.
Yes.
So that's my question. Did he bring that up again?
He did bring that up, and if I remember correctly, he noted that that funding would come from outside sources, and it's in the works. So I think if there were, I think that's why I put this as low priority after having spoken to Steve.
Okay.
And these committee rankings are my personal opinion that are more than welcome to be changed.
Sure, it'll go in the next.
So I was just asking that
Yep.
previously because this could be definitely used. I mean, our open spaces we use for resilience purposes.
Yeah.
And adding the trees would help with that. So if there is flooding in that area, if we can take pictures to
Yeah.
add to our story, I think that would be really important.
I think that goes across the board in perpetuity for all parks and playgrounds. Great point. The next one was Wagner Playground. Funding should be provided to allow for the provision of additional seating, a public restroom, lighting, and gate repair at Wagner Playground. This is obviously a really already great playground, playground, whatever you want to call it. They did note the public restroom would be needed. It's probably highly unlikely that they would get it. So I think, given the quality of the park currently, this was a low priority for me. Any changes to the wording?
No.
Okay. PS 155 playground. This is the playground that had a renovation on one side of the playground, and on the other side is a complete parking lot. And there's 2 handball courts, I believe, and some basketball courts. Steve, I specifically made us think about parks that are made up of asphalt completely, and they don't seem to think that's a problem, which is, yeah. So, he said that they plan to repave the park, this part of the park with asphalt and paint like lines of a baseball field, which, I strongly encourage him to reconsider. So, I still think this is a worthwhile request, if we want to include it. Any changes to the wording? Okay,
Paint a baseball field?
on like the lines, yeah.
So you think, I just want to think of like a field, baseball field, right? With dirt, it's safer.
Right.
I think we tie something into safety.
So what I told him on the budget call was that asphalt parking lots are black. They
Absorb the
attract and absorb the heat that is bad for our neighborhood, as we know we have the heat problems. Secondly, it is completely impervious surface and there's no ability for it to do anything about our resilience problem. So that's 2 strikes. They said, oh, well, maybe we could paint it white. Like, that's not really solving the problem.
At least they come with a solution.
Some solutions.
And that's how.
That's not a solution.
It's a force.
Okay, moving along, May Grant Playground. Funding should be allocated to provide a full renovation of May Grant Playground. The playground is in need of handball court repair, playground refurbishment, playground mat replacement, water feature repair. Lighting upgrades and pavement restoration. The playground consists of a large amount of asphalt. Therefore, additional planting areas and trees are needed. Additional paths for pedestrian through traffic during park closures are needed, and that was something we talked about on the tour. Any questions?
Can you just put an E on there for
Yes, doing it.
Yeah, no, I think that one should be a priority because when we were, well, medium priorities, but there's cracks everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the trash, they need more garbage cans.
It's sad that there's so many priorities.
I know.
That doesn't seem like it's a real playground. It's so like the poor
It,
thing.
it looks like a playground and it functions like a playground, but then at the same time, it's like I was telling kids, like, don't grab the trash, don't touch this, don't touch that. There's a lot
Don't
of
get
stuff,
stuck
yeah.
with a needle.
I didn't see any needles. At least in the playground area, I kind of kept them condensed to like the one space that I checked, so I don't know about the rest of them.
Mm.
But it's been a concern in some of our parks.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah.
You know, it's almost like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's almost like, and this is where we got caught with youth, where we said, all these schools need it, we put it as a big ask. And then that way they fund nothing.
Exactly.
And then the city and go through each park where there's such drastic changes that need to be made. And you know, kids will play anywhere. But if we have a park, it should be safe, it should be engaging, it should be. What it's not.
Yeah. Good point. I'm gonna move us along. There's only a handful more.
And for more parks.
White playground. Funding should be allocated to provide white playground with an updated mural, graffiti removal, handball courts, and sandball play area repair, including the water feature and water fountain. They're fine.
So there's a history to the mural.
Yes.
The mural is a temporary art installation that should have been removed in 2018. Park Department graciously allowed us to keep it. And it's there until it basically fades away, or someone else comes along who wants to replace it. It's not the Park Department's responsibility.
Okay.
Or any city agency's responsibility to restore the mural.
Do you think we should remove the mural?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Not
I
really.
hate to be that person,
Yeah.
but the water works over there, cause I was there this summer. The
Okay.
water works over there, the sprinklers were on.
I couldn't get it to
everything
work. When we were there together.
Somebody didn't turn it on.
Well, I think it was because of all the sand had gotten into the, like,
After the rain.
water features.
Yeah,
out there.
it was, but it was fine. We were there
All
towards the end of the summer, all summer.
Okay.
And it was after you guys went and it was working.
It just has to be turned.
Okay, so I'll take out the mural, which I saw was a DRI grant proposal and was not able to be included because it's not fit the criteria of being within the area. Do you want me to take out water feature,
I think just take it out altogether, because that park.
take out the whole thing?
That park was renovated a few years ago. It's working fine. It's very nice over there. There's no reason to put a priority on it.
All
Or
right.
have it at all.
Oh, and wait, look, we said remove. Okay, so this
Wait,
is,
wait.
yes, Michelle.
This is not in conjunction, well, in a way. Just to have a conversation with the parks is saying that can they have more employees in the morning just to turn them on?
I think that is a conversation I think we can have on an ongoing basis with parks when they show up.
So in other words, it doesn't really need to be there, but just to make sure that they know that that's an important issue.
Yes, yeah, agree. Okay, Poor Richard's Playground, we talked about this one. It's funding should be allocated to provide the necessary improvements to the existing public restroom at the newly renovated playground to make it ADA accessible and match the level of quality of the rest of the park. Okay, next, Blake Hobbs Playground, funding should be allocated to provide a full renovation of Blake Hobbs Playground. The playground is in need of handball court and basketball court restorations, playground pavement improvements, placement nets for basketball courts, and playground mat restoration. Additional planting areas are also needed as the park consists mostly of asphalt. It is in stark contrast and in need of updating, especially when compared to its charter school playground across the street. Is that too hard?
But wasn't that just redone? Like,
It
they
was
repainted
done.
it.
I thought it was, I don't think it, I think they repainted it, but it's still not. Maybe it's a low priority, because the other side of the playground is still great. It's, I don't know.
Okay, wait.
You're gonna tell us it's not a visiting playground.
They did keep the whole thing, they did pave the whole thing and paint it over, so the part that had that humongous crack in it,
Yeah,
that was covered up. The Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for joining us. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
The handball courts have been painted over. The toilet seat is still hung up there like a trophy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, when I talked to Steve, he said they did repaint the tops, but he still thinks that the park is in need of a renovation. So they're putting it on their list. I think it's worth including on ours if we would like to include it.
Playground, like they can't use the one across the street.
Yeah,
Cause what 6-year-old wants to stand in a handball court for 30 minutes?
yeah.
With no
It's
seats,
interesting.
no chairs at all?
No chairs, no.
But you know, it's interesting with all these parks,
Yeah.
right, they know about, and yet they've identified that. park
Yeah.
as a priority.
Oh, they've identified a whole list. They had a list as long as ours. It was
I
a
think
lot.
it's just the devil with the specialists.
Yeah.
Citywide or district?
District.
District.
They're very, I was impressed, honestly. It was a great conversation.
I was really impressed on how many of the parks have been paved and painted, and a lot of the details that we looked at during the summer have been improved and
Yeah.
updated. I was really impressed with that, because you take the picture at the beginning of the season and the midway and then the end, and you're seeing these different changes.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, honestly, I think the parks tours and the conversations with parks, it's on an upward trend of positivity, as long as we can get the funding. Unfortunately, parks does not have funding just to give. They rely on elected official and other sources, so. The last couple of requests here, Cherry Tree Park, funding should be allocated to provide a full renovation to Cherry Tree Park. Cherry Tree Park is in need of restoration to the existing course benches, repair of the basketball fences, playground repainting, and playground mat resurfacing. Any changes to this request? No. Last one, Marx Brothers Playground, funding should be allocated to provide new benches, fencing, and turf for Marx Brothers Playground. Any changes to this request? Okay, so,
Was that,
yep,
and I could be wrong, right? Wasn't that included as part of the rebuild with the schools and that whole building that they were supposed to upgrade? The developer was supposed to as part of it.
oh, yeah,
Right, so why are we asking the city to pay for something?
yeah,
You know, when we have so many needs, then they'll pick that one instead
yeah.
of.
I think I'm getting this part confused with the other part.
Cause Marx Brothers is the one on by Metropolitan, right? No? Am I bugging?
Oh.
No, it's Second Avenue and First,
Yeah, it's
close
96.
to the second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant, it's by Metropolitan.
Yeah, that's what we went
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, this is the one part that there was funding available for, yes,
Right, through that,
through
where we like.
the
that.
developer, yes, yeah. Okay, so do you think we should not include that request? Sorry.
Well, I think what we should do is go back to the developer and say, we're waiting on the playground.
Okay, so let's do that. Should we remove this request?
It's low priority.
You know, part is, but the building's going through, from my understanding, right? They're putting schools in.
But that would have to be part of their project, and we're gonna wait for that. I
And
would
they're
say
building it.
we keep it in there, and when they come through, it'll be so long ago that they can do the improvements that's gonna be needed.
Okay.
I'm sure they're gonna save us.
I think Steve said to remove it, but if we want to keep it, we can.
There's already funding there, we don't want.
When is it scheduled, when
We don't want
it's
it to
gonna
be-
be, when is it scheduled for the funding to be there?
Right, well, so how about this? And similarly to the parks water fountains thing, is it okay if I just? We can follow up with this by the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know who's set for this.
Oh, it's a-
Okay, we're closed.
Just have expense.
Yes, I know. All right, so just really quickly, I think the ratings reflect a pretty accurate representation of our conversations. If we could just run through them very quickly. We know all of our the sanitation garage high priority. Thomas Jefferson playground bathroom high priority. Resiliency high priority. Esplanade Harlem Greenway Link is a high priority. Acropolis at Marcus Garvey is a medium priority. Is that okay with everyone?
Wait.
I think unfortunately, East Harlem and this community board in District 11 has often abandoned Marcus Garvey Park. It's not in East Harlem. So you're basically saying a culturally significant space with all kinds of pictory is not relevant, so.
It's a medium, it's not a low priority, needs to be high priority.
I know, I think it just needs to be acknowledged that.
I would have to argue that a little bit, because when we went over there, when we were talking to people, a lot of stuff that they were saying was completely different from what we're requesting. Like, they were talking about the equipment, they were talking about garbage cans. How are we gonna serve the people who go to the park and use the park if we're not requesting what they wanted? And it's medium priority, it's not like we put it lowest.
I'll go to Russell and then Connie.
We're talking about different areas of park. It isn't, it's in East Harlem. It's in what it's centrally located. Half of it is on the other side and half of it is on
The address is
the part that we talking about is on my side. It's on the east side, it's on our side. But when we talk about the equipment and stuff, that's talking about people usage in a different activity. When we talk about the properties, that's something else. It's two different areas. So when we keep, I'm of the mindset, I get the reports on, because of the properties where it is, that's why other activities are always happening because it's not paying attention to, so it's abandoned. So we have all the wayward activities happening there because it's not appropriately lighted, it's not accessible where people can walk up and come down where they're safe and they feel comfortable with where they can hang out. When we talk about it along Madison Avenue where people are engaged on their own, that's something different. That's like more on the recreational side. For me, when I see, especially during the pandemic, when people were coming out and doing what they were doing, they just take it upon themselves and say, I gotta be outside. You know what? Nobody owns this. So someone started a business, right? Almost technically, right? I mean, the group that was there was organized. They came to use what they wanted to do. Correct me if I'm tell me what you see.
Number one, the Acropolis is a series of terraces that are on both sides of the mountain. It's not just the top. It includes the staircases. It is it is, I don't know how many acres of parkland.
I think
that, it's huge. It's really, really huge. The entirety of the park is in East Harlem.
Yeah.
It is used by tens of thousands of East Harlem residents, particularly those who live above 116th Street. It's one of the most heavily used parks in all of northern Manhattan, not just Harlem or East Harlem. I think we have to look at the space as, if we have tens of thousands of people that are East Harlem residents who use it regularly, that's where the focus needs to be. The fitness area, where we did spend some time when we did our walkthrough, we didn't go to the Acropolis, but we go to a lot of areas. The fitness area, I think, is a very important area in that park. Again, it is regularly used 12 months of the year by almost predominantly East Harlem residents. And that entire area is in need of restoration. And Steve will tell you, it's a priority.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It is a priority. It's a priority for this community. It is all over the press. That funding will get there. I think it would make this community board and this committee look responsible to include that fitness area as an important project.
Okay, so the only reason I'm gonna stop the conversation now is because I think we already went through the request wording, so if we were gonna change the request, I feel like I will entertain that, but we're focusing on the ranking right now.
I think,
Wait, hold on, Connie, are you suggesting that we add the fitness equipment to the wording of the request?
It's not the fitness equipment, it's the entire playground area.
Yeah.
It's a restoration project of that.
Can you think about the wording to include to the request, and I'm gonna go to everyone else, Russell?
Historically, that was a major park for us. So right now, as time has come, it's an eyesore. It is taken in a secondary light that is just, it exists. That was our major park.
Right.
I mean, that was major for the Acropolis going up there, even before they built the damn pool.
Yeah.
That was major. That's how far. Before they built it.
Did you have a question?
I just wanted to add to increase the importance on that.
Okay.
Being
Michelle
that
agrees.
the individuals that are going to be coming from Central Park next year, when there is no Shakespeare in the park, when there is less activities in Central Park, they're gonna come to Marcus Garvey.
Okay, Asher and then Connie. if you wanna
There's
give
gonna
me
be
your-
reservations.
We're definitely going to
I just wanted to rephrase what I was saying before, because I don't think it was clear. I think the lighting is important. I think some of it is important. But I already know the response we're gonna get with the staircases and stuff. My more question is, has there been a study done on the staircases?
Yes.
To determine the,
That's
determine
how
the
they know that
fidelity.
it's
Okay.
15 million more in funding.
all right, I was just making sure, because I didn't want to.
It's already partially funded too, right, Connie? Yeah, but yeah,
Just to play over what Russell was saying, the Rutgers League took place primarily at Marcus Garvey Park. There's a really long history in this park that is particularly important to the broader community of.
what are we adding to the?
Okay, the restoration of the adult fitness area, basketball courts and playground. Full restoration.
Okay, additionally, the full funding should be provided for the full restoration to the adult fitness area
And the playground.
Basketball courts and
Basketball.
playgrounds.
and playground. Okay, and then we'll increase this to a high priority. Do we agree?
Yes, please.
Across the board, okay. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, we're working through this. We got this. All right, oops. All right, next, was,
Okay, I'm happy.
okay. Peter Minuet was a high priority. We all agree, yes. River East Playground, high priority. We all agree. Unfortunately, everything's gonna be a high priority. The non-operational lighting and rat populations in each one, teach one is probably the only one of the only ones we can put as a medium priority. Do we want to readjust this one?
That speed.
Yes,
The
it's-
district law.
Oh, yeah.
not just-
Well, this was a specific problem at this park. Malik was there, at the park store. It was, and I do think Parks and DSNY are actively working to solve this problem. So that's why I don't think it necessarily has to be a high priority.
Yeah.
Are we good with medium?
Yeah, the mayor has the rat lady now.
Yeah, the rat lady will solve it.
Rat ladies, the outfit.
The next is Alice Cornegi. We called it a medium priority. Things are in general working condition, but it's just all asphalt. Eugene McCabe was low priority. Wagner Playground is low priority.
We could have just renovated.
Yeah, PS 155 is high priority. May Grant, medium priority. Do you want to lift this to a high?
Yeah,
Wait a minute, that's the one that has everything that needs to be done?
Yeah,
yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
that like,
can you raise that to a high,
Okay.
please?
we're gonna have too many highs and I'm sorry. We'll figure this out at full board.
Well, some of
I think
these
it's fine.
maybe, yeah.
Okay, well, we're almost done.
Okay.
Poor Richard's Playground I put as a low priority because the playground was just renovated.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was just done the other way.
Blake Hobbs, medium priority, do we agree? They just repaved, resurfaced it.
Yeah.
Needs a full renovation. Cherry Tree, medium.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm trying to think if May Grant is in worse condition than Cherry Tree.
I think it is.
I think, yeah, but
and Cherry Tree is still used.
Cherry Tree, the paint is peeling.
Yeah.
That was the main concern, the paint is peeling.
That church is a horsey?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one that we were, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna move us along.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. The budget requests, they're really quick. They're only 4. DSNY, we said we were gonna keep and revise this. Funding should be allocated to provide an equitable amount of on-street resistant trash cans on every corner, major streets and intersections to reduce the occurrence of overflowing corner bins and garbage on the street. High priority. We all agree?
Yeah.
Next was plant new street trees. Funding should be allocated to plant new street trees and staff should be provided to maintain existing street trees in CB11. In order to help mitigate the impacts of climate change and address equity and health concerns, street trees are needed across the town. They also needed to be protected from dying by watering and maintaining their pit areas. So Park says there's nothing they can do about the maintenance of the trees. I asked about the watering van, the watering truck. They said it doesn't exist. So
Treatments are typically the responsibility of the
They say the
property
rainwater-
owners, and then also you have the Million More
Hold
Trees
on.
initiative.
Cleve was making a good point.
Tree pits are responsibility of the property owners in which they're in front of, so they are supposed to be maintaining those. And then also, we had two agencies, Manhattan President's Office and another agency, I can't remember, that came before us regarding like a million more trees and other tree planting initiatives. So you could maybe keep this on like medium to low priority, in my humble opinion.
Trees campaign, what was the other one?
I can't remember. I just remember a million more trees and I forget what the other name was.
So this is the crazy thought. When they last put a bunch of trees in these homes, somebody had mentioned that they used the wrong configuration in terms of where to plant the trees on blocks. And they used the Brooklyn where it was more homes. And a lot of the trees are like on 100th Street where we are, there are trees like in the middle of the, almost of the block.
And like hit with the piece
Right.
of the tree.
Where it's not like, so they use the different schematic
Oh, yeah.
to lay the trees down. But they used it that was made for a different kind of neighborhood
Okay.
than East Harlem. So some of the trees like on 100th Street where they, yeah, they're in the wrong spot, like where they would normally be. So they're obstructing like even your way of walking.
Wow.
Oh,
They also said we have different soil properties when it comes to DEP,
yeah.
so obviously, but
And also the, some of the trees that are like near schools and whatnot, the soil in front of them are so impacted. This was.
oh
from
yeah, I
Simone,
saw that.
That they can't get any water into their, they're defeating the purpose. They can't absorb water. They die.
Compaction, I'm gonna add that.
I
compaction.
think also
Some
the
people
ones
stop
that are in
cooking
front of
it,
like
stop cooking
abandoned
it.
buildings, those ones
It's not done.
especially get
People walk.
neglected because if the property owners are the ones who are supposed to be taking care of the trees, if there's no property owner. That tree.
Yeah, no, and that's the problem, you know, we don't have a lot of agency or ownership over the tree pets, so I added, compacting of the soil for your request, Michelle, and do we agree this is a medium priority? Or is it a high priority?
Flooding.
They're gonna put the trees, whether we prioritize it or not, because that's their initiative.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to make it a high.
No, yeah.
okay, medium priority, okay, two more.
Okay, we don't.
The vacant lots, we were told by DSNY that this was last year when they responded, that they could not, do anything. They told us to, make them aware of any privately owned lots that are a problem and they will, address it specifically. So I suggested that we remove this request. Is that
About
okay?
the city lots.
The city lots are still up for debate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get a lot of cleaning units.
Yeah, so if anyone knows of any vacant lots, please let me know because I have a list of my own and I will coordinate that. The next one was the canine waste laws again. DSNY said without someone actively seeing that their dog pooping and not picking it up, there's nothing they can do. So I suggested we remove this request. All right, are we done? Does that sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Can we do we have to take a motion? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Michelle,
I motion that we accept what we have completed.
great. Second by Joel.
Second.
All right, can we do by acclamation? Or do we have to go individually?
If you'd like. it's
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Are you?
No, I just. I was looking at that, I was like, no, we didn't get that.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we work through that process. We will move on to our next item on the agenda,
There's more.
which is, yes. The first presentation is a proposed name change on the chain
Oh,
for Negro Point on Ward's Island to Tenkeness Point. Just so that everyone knows, they're requesting board recommendations, so they're not, the board of on geographic names is not proposing this name, but is asking for stakeholder recommendations before voting to either approve or not approve the name for federal use. To facilitate a response from your office, a recommendation form was attached, but your response may also just be a reply to this email. So we can either approve or reject the proposed name or provide an other response. If we could keep this presentation to 5 minutes so that we could have a couple minutes for questions, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Elliott. Yeah, my name is Matthew O'Donnell. I'm a USGS employee. It's a staff support for the Board on Geographic Names. I have just a few slides for some brief talking points. May I share my screen? Thank you. And I will try to keep this very short. So just basically the Board on Geographic Names, its purpose is to standardize names for federal use. It doesn't have any purview over names that are used locally or by the state, but for what's on federal products and federal maps. There's several members that federal agencies that vote on proposals. I'm a staff member, I don't vote. There's all official names are in this geographic names information system. It's established by Congress in 1947, operates conjointly with the Secretary of the Interior, and anyone can send a proposal to the BGN. If it meets the basic policy requirements, the BGN staff processes it and reaches out to interested parties. That's what we're doing for the community board. Just a bit background on history. I know the packet, I think the packet, full summary packet for the proposal was shared with committee members, but NOAA requested the BGN make official that name. That's the official name now for the point of the southern end of Ward's Island. The name goes back to the mid 1800s. The origin of the history of the name is unknown. NOAA requested this to be in compliance with the federal requirement that they use official federal names on their charts. They had been doing that. They were just kind of trying to, get make it official at that point, put it in GNIS. So the decision, 1982 decision, was just to make the name that was already on NOAA charts official for federal use. It wasn't anything about the name itself or any research into the history or the suitability of the name. Then in 2001, the former New York City Parks Commissioner Stern, he renamed the point to Scylla Point in conjunction with Charybdis Playground on the other side, in reference to the Greek myth of Scylla and Charybdis, and Hell's Gate is a very dangerous place to navigate. And this was done because in one of the principles of the BGN is that a name may not be removed. There needs to be a replacement name for it. Once it's official, you can't just remove the name. He proposed the name to the BGN, and there was a lot of back and forth with inputs from interested parties. Eventually, the BGN voted to not approve the name due to the negative recommendation from NOAA, which cited disagreement at the time from Sandy Hook Pilots Association, who at the time were not in favor of the change because it would cause confusion. Some of that, their discussions today, I think, are different. Then for this current proposal that the BGN is asking for feedback on, Hassan Minhaj, who formerly hosted the Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj show on Netflix, he posted a YouTube video titled "What's with the Racist Names of So Many American Places?" He encouraged people to submit proposals. Many people did. He mentioned that he would submit a proposal for Tenkennis Point in the video. It was sent to us by his producer. We lost the envelope, unfortunately, in a 2019 office move. We just found it, and so we're just processing it now, 4 years later. And we're asking for recommendations on the proposal. That's not the only name that needs to be proposed. If there are other names that are more appropriate, or another name that the New York City Parks already uses for it, it would be the BGN would be happy to entertain those proposals as well. The board is reactive to the proposals we get, and all we have right now is a proposal from Hassan Minhaj's producer to rename that point as Tenkennis Point, which is a Lenape word. I'm blanking right now what the reported translation of the Lenape word is, but it was reportedly the original name of Ward's Island when the Dutch first colonized the area. So for some questions to ask yourself, should the feature be renamed from its official name? And then if yes, what should the official name be? Is Tenkennis Point the best replacement name, or is there a better one that could be proposed to the BGN? Just some basics here. NOAA has said that they will not show the name on their charts anymore. They'll just label the bridges, which are more important for navigation, and that Sandy Hook Pilots doesn't object to the change now because they don't refer to that when they're navigating up there. And the Manhattan Borough historian, Dr. Snyder, who's on the call too, shared a recommendation basically saying that Tenkennis Point is not the best name change for the point because it doesn't reflect the original Black history of the name. I have some links here for things. If you have questions about the BGN process in general, you can contact the BGN Executive Secretary and staff at bgnexec.usgs.gov. And there are some links on the BGN website for basically what proposals, what makes a proposal, and for what some frequently asked questions about official names in GNIS. So thank you.
Thank you so
Happy
much,
to answer
Matt.
any questions. You're welcome.
Dr. Snyder, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, what I'd add is I think that the recognition of Black history is all too rare in New York City and all too rare in the United States of America. And there is at least one historian out there. His name is Richard Melnick, who's actually written a book on the history of Queens in the time of the American Revolution. And he believes that Negro Point was named for Black pilots who steered ships through the Hell Gate Passage, which was a very dangerous passage. Now, I tried to contact him and couldn't, but I think that if we're going to rename Negro Point, it should be named for one of the Black mariners who did important work in New York City, or name it after another African-American mariner, maybe not affiliated with that stretch of water, who really deserves recognition. These people would not be hard to find. Then we could put Tenkinus to another piece of Ward's Island. We could honor Black history, we could honor Native American history, and the name we give to that point would have something to do with the lives of African Americans in New York City.
Thank you, Dr. Snyder. I see Donna Milza has her hand raised. I'm gonna recognize you as part of Randall's Island, because I think this is related.
Yes, hi. Could you please send me that presentation?
Yes, yeah. Should I share it with the committee? Chair Elliott, should I share it with you to share, or?
If you share it with me, I can share it with you, Donna.
Okay, that'd be terrific. Thank
Of
you. I
course,
was gonna
okay.
put my email in the chat, but it says
if you
my
could do
chat's
that.
disabled. Yeah,
Okay, never mind.
thank you
All right,
so much.
You're welcome.
I'll
I'll do
coordinate
that.
that. Are there any questions from the board, Michelle?
Okay, so there are two things that are on the table right now. One is, do we want to change the name? And second, do we want to change the name to?
Sorry, the question is, do we approve of the name? Do we disapprove of the name? Or is there another suggestion we would like to make? Those are the three
Those are
options.
the three options. So do we need to take a vote
No.
on any of these at this point?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, but as I understand, there's no timeline to this issue, and typically our committee hears a request, and then we'd like to vote for it at our next meeting, allowing us the time to have thought and follow up. Would that work in your
Yes.
timeline?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. Yeah, the BGN will basically wait until all interested parties have had enough time to fully evaluate the proposal and come up with their own recommendation, whatever that might be. We understand that it's good for communities to talk about this, especially when names could be names, and who you honor with names can be very important. So the BGN recognizes that it can take communities a long time to make the best recommendation. Yes.
Okay. Michelle, was there anything else you wanted to add? Okay. Russell.
In the interim, could you provide our committee with the historical studies about the Black Americans, the pilots, and those groups, so we can have something to review? Because definitely the name has to be changed. Of course, we're in a different time, but we can't erase history. And the historical value of those that were there, but the intent was great for that time to acknowledge those Black Americans in that area. So we need to change the name and keep it in that context, just like we did with the CB11M. We're not gonna change it to some other historical area. We keep it focused right there, but we need to know that history, as much of the documentation you can provide to the committee, will help us in our decision making.
Thank you, Russell. Dr. Schneider, is that information you would be able to provide to us?
I can't provide it specifically on that point, but I can provide you with some books and authorities on the history of Black mariners in and around New York City that would get thinking started. So I think it's possible. Right now, I'm working full-time on a history of COVID in New York City. It's going to take me about another month or so to get done with this draft. I'd have a little free time after that, but I'd be happy to help others get started now. I can point you to books I can recommend people to think about. I think the name should be changed, but I'd love to see it changed in a way that honors Black history. And the closer the people we honor are to that physical site, right? African Americans from what's today Queens, African Americans to Ward's Island, the better. If we can't get them close to that site, I can provide you really easily with names of plenty of great Black mariners who were also abolitionists in the freedom struggle. So that I can do very quickly. It's pegging it to that specific spot on Ward's Island and the passage between Ward's Island and Queens that would take a little bit of time.
Do you think, Dr. Snyder, that you'd be able to provide that information to us in the month of November
November of?
this year?
No, I need help. I need somebody who could work on that too. I can direct you to books and you can look at the books. You'll find plenty. I can give you names, but to dig into 18th century maps and
Okay.
read
Dr.
18th
Schneider.
century newspapers, can't do it that.
And an
Yeah.
individual you trying to reach, that you couldn't reach.
Yeah, if you could, I don't know, do we have
Sure.
your contact
Yeah.
information?
It's
Okay.
Richard, yeah, I'll give you the name of Richard Melnick. I'll also give you the name of a superb book about Black mariners in the 18th and 19th century called Black Jacks. The historian who wrote that book is very knowledgeable. I found the name of another guy who teaches at the College of New Jersey. I tried to contact him. I couldn't hear from him. So there are people out there that know this, right? And even if they can't get you anything specific to that passage between Ward's Island and Queens, they can get you the names of Black mariners who really deserve recognition.
Great, thank you, Dr. Schneider. Are there any other questions from the committee?
Is there
Okay,
somebody on the committee who could email me that I could be in touch with? I can give you.
Yes,
Yes,
we will reach out to you and then we'll look forward to your recommendations.
very good, very good.
Thank you, Dr. Schneider. I see a hand raised from Colleen Roche.
Yeah, so I work for NOAA. I am the Northeast Navigation Manager. I'm the person that interfaces with pilots and mariners on these. There are two very important points that I want to make. One, this name is not unique to this place, Negro Point, or I mean, one important thing to note is that a lot of times these were named something far worse than Negro before the 1970s, and NOAA blanketly changed them to Negro. Not our finest hour, but it's what we did. And then we are currently working with the BGN and other users to remove the derogatory names from the charts if they aren't navigationally relevant, like we did with this place. And the other point that I wanted to make is that the first Black pilot his name is John DeCruz. He's currently a pilot, and I think that he started in like around 2000.
Whoa, that's really interesting. Can I say?
Yeah. So I mean, officially, and they go back 300 years. Like the Sandy Hook pilots have been the pilots of responsible for bringing vessels in and out of this place for the last 300 years, and they have their first one was John DeCruz. Their first Black American pilot was John DeCruz, and I think he got his pilotage around 2000.
Great. So it sounds like Colleen and Dr. Schneider might need to touch base and talk about some things.
I can't wait to read these books.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for your. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Schneider.
I checked with some historians. They don't think the name dates to Dutch times. They think it dates to the time of British rule and the American Revolution. That's how much we know. We can learn more if we keep digging.
Great. All right. Well, we'll be sure to keep this on our old business until we're ready to make a decision, and we'll keep in contact with you, Matthew O'Donnell, and we'll reach out to you, Dr. Schneider, for more information.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
All right, moving along to our next presentation again. If you could please keep this to 5 minutes. The reconstruction of the concession and addition of pergola structure at Mineral Springs in Central Park. And this is a consideration for a letter of no objection. Their timeline, and Steve brought this to my attention and asked for our lenience and our procedures here. They have an end of month deadline, so we need to take a vote today for a letter of no objection for this project. If we choose.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Community Board 11. I'm just going to do a brief introduction and then I'll pass it on to Jason Gold, the architect. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present to you, Community Board 11. My name is Joy Gutierrez. I am the Parks Revenue and Concessions Architect. I'm joined also by Tony McCary, the Director of Concession Architecture and Development at Parks, and also Jason Gold and Richard Lewis of Richard H. Lewis Architects. We are here today to present a design for the reconstruction and addition of a pergola structure at Mineral Springs in Central Park. This snack bar cafe is located near 69th Street and West Drive, and it sits adjacent to the sheep meadow. The original pavilion, designed by Calvert Vaux and Jacob Ray Mould, was built in 1867 in a Moorish style, as shown here in the images, and was created as a venue for selling mineral waters believed to have medicinal properties during that period. The current building was constructed around 1960 to replace the original Mineral Springs Pavilion, which was demolished that same year. Since then, the building has housed a food concession, which continues to the present day. Le Pan Quotidien has been the licensed concessionaire, successfully operating the cafe at this site since 2010. The park's concession was competitively bid through a request for proposals process in 2022 and is being operated under the terms of a 15-year license agreement between the City of New York and Le Pan Quotidien. So this license agreement expires in 2037. Under these current terms, they are contractually obligated to make improvements to the site, which include the recently completed renovation of the public restrooms, and they also plan in the future to restore in kind the existing slate roof and cupola. Richard H. Lewis Architect has a long history of work in the New York food industry, including the renovation of Tavern on the Green and Central Park. They are represented today by Jason Gold, whom I will turn this over to present the design. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Joy. So as Joy said, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to present this proposal for improvements to the Le Pan Quotidien's concession at Mineral Springs and Central Park. I'd also like to thank the Parks Department, the Central Park Conservancy, and the Landmarks Preservation Commission, who have been our partners over these past 2 years as we develop this proposal. Central Park, of course, is not only one of the most celebrated and visited places on Earth, but it's also one of the most valuable assets in the lives of everyday New Yorkers. Your community borders the park and has a vested interest, a local interest, in ensuring that all the work in the park advances its role in your community, in the city generally, and in the world. And we look forward to your feedback and your partnership as well. To just give you an idea of what's existing at the facility before we go into what we propose. This is that building with the cupola. It currently has the kitchen area for Le Pan Quotidien, the concessionaire, a little bit of indoor seating in front, facing the sheep meadow, which is at the bottom of this image. There's outdoor seating. Some of it is served by waiters and some of it is grab and go. And then adjacent are, as Joy mentioned, public bathrooms, which have already been renovated earlier this summer. Behind that are spaces that are used for a service depot that is used by the Parks Department and the Central Park Conservancy for the maintenance of this area of the park. This is an outdoor yard that's part of that service depot. It has lots of storage containers and there's vehicles coming and going from there all the time. And then there's a low masonry wall and a high wood fence that separates that area from the area where we're going to focus, which is currently an outdoor asphalt patio that has a wooden trellis structure that was approved in 2009 and has definitely reached the end of its usable lifespan. And this is used for outdoor dining at the time, but obviously only in fair weather.
I'm just going to ask that we move along a little bit more quickly as we're limited time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. These are some views of the site from across the park. These are some views of the existing condition. So you can see it's kind of a bit of a ragtag affair at this point. The existing wood pergola, that existing wood fence that we're going to keep. Here's some views of the service depot, the connection between the kitchen and the existing building and the patio area, and a trash area that's underneath the eaves of the existing building. Let's move to this plan. So this shows what we're proposing. It's a pergola structure. This is a manufactured product from a company called Renson that's based in Belgium and also has a manufacturing facility here in the US in Texas. So it's something that will arrive as a kit of parts from a factory and is very quickly assembled, which really minimizes the construction time. So there are these 5 rectangular units that will replace the open area. Between these units and the building would be a tented area that would serve for service access and storage. And then there would be a couple of new open spaces created. One would be green facing the park, and one would be paved, sort of an internal little open court. The seating capacity would stay the same of the current versus the proposed. The roof shows that, here's the tented area, that the roof of the pergola units is louvered. Those louvers are motorized, so they can be open to allow patrons to view the sky and the trees on in nice weather, but they can be closed when the weather's rainy or cold to create a 365-day-a-year dining amenity in the park, which is currently only available now during nice weather. Elevations showing the unit. These are pretty abstract. I think the renderings are way easier to read. So this is the view from the park. Here's the existing building. In the summer, this would be completely open facing the park. This little section here is glass with wood louvers behind it. And then in the winter, rolled up in this upper beam are translucent and transparent screens that can be lowered down, and again, they're motorized to create an enclosure so that this becomes useful in cold weather and rainy weather. In other words, every day of the year. More views showing sort of a mid-range view. Again, the open fair weather mode, and then the closed winter weather mode. These same views that we looked at before, but now with our proposed building photo montaged in. And so you can see that it's a really a small thing within the context of the gorgeous mature landscape. Some interior views that show the roof in closed mode and then open. So again, the sunlight streams in and people can see the sky and the trees. And because it is so open, there's no plan to air condition this. However, there would be heating units installed on the beam so that it's more comfortable during the winter. Another view showing how it nestles into the landscape. And then six examples of other buildings, 5 of them in Central Park and 1 in Prospect Park, which is another Olmsted and Vaux Park, of course, that show both the variety of styles that are recently approved in the park, the about to start renovation of the Delacorte, the under construction replacement of, well, the new Harlemere Center that replaces the Lasseter Pool, and then also the pergola form that we chose is very prevalent in many, many different forms throughout the park, including at the Low Boathouse along the pathways, at the Park Drive, at the newly renovated Chess and Checkers House adjacent to the east side, and then also at the recently approved Vale of Cashmere renovation in Prospect Park. The materials, I think the most important thing is this is that roll down screen that's partly translucent and partly transparent. So you can see that you see through it, and it provides the winter enclosure. The flooring in the dining area would be this gorgeous bluestone. And then there will be ceiling fans that'll be useful all times of year. The heaters are very, very discreet. Facing the fence would be solid wooden panels, and behind some of the glass, as I mentioned before, are wooden louvers that help to, a natural material that helps to further integrate this into its environment. And then since this is a manufactured product, we have some images from the manufacturer showing other installations, so you get an idea of what it is that the finished product looks like, although obviously ours is in a much more amazing setting than any of these. That is presentation. So any comments or questions or, you know.
Yep, thank you, Joy, and thank you, Jason. I'll entertain any question. I have one question because I deal with this in my own work. What is your egress plan for an emergency event when the translucent screen is down?
Sure. So let me go back to, so you can see that when the screen is down, there's a door in this.
Man door, okay, person door.
That is a regular swinging door that has all the ADA clearances as required, etc.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Michelle,
Just want to make sure the footprint is exactly the same, correct?
is the footprint exactly the same?
You're not, in fact, the footprint of the enclosed area is less than now. As I mentioned, a couple of portions, including one right up here, and then another behind this element, a little triangle, are actually going to be open to the sky. So, but the footprint does not expand at all, nor does the number of people being served. However, what does expand is that instead of only being able to serve those folks when the weather's nice, this now becomes a 365-day-a-year amenity for the residents of the neighborhoods and all the many, many users of the park.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion. Michelle.
To accept it for no objection.
Oh, there is a motion on the table for a letter of no objection for this project. Is there a second? David, I'm gonna just do it by acclamation. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you so much, Joy and Jason.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your
Good.
project.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
We'll move along to our final item, which is a quick presentation from New Yorkers for Parks on the increased funding for parks to 1% of the New York City budget. This is a consideration for a letter of support in which we would entertain a motion at our next meeting. Crystal, while I have you, I'll go ahead and ask your question.
The guy who said he was gonna contact me tomorrow, what's his name?
Khalid Nixon, he's our assistant district manager. He's sitting
You
right
said
there
it,
next
you
to
said
me.
it so fast, I didn't hear you.
All right, Khalid Nixon.
Khalid Nixon. Okay,
He's
thank
our
you.
assistant district manager. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Khalid. All right, go ahead, Carl.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'll just share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Carl Nelson. I'm with New Yorkers for Parks. We were founded in 1908. We're the only independent citywide parks advocacy organization championing the quality, equitable development and distribution of parks across New York City. We work through a combination of partnerships, advocacy, and research. We lead the Playfair Coalition. This is over 400 parks advocacy groups, including park stewards, gardeners, conservancies, other sustainably minded nonprofits, including Randall's Island Park Alliance in the district. We co-founded this coalition alongside the New York League of Conservation Voters, DC 37, and which is the Parks Workers Union. And we work closely with Parks Committee Chair Shaker Krishnan. This is the Playfair Coalition.
Wow.
It's a lot of people, a lot of amazing advocates all around in every single neighborhood. Our research, we recently released the 1% for Parks Impact Report, the subject matter of which I'll get into a little bit more in a second. That's a report that looks at what an increase in the city, in the parks budget to 1% of the total city expense budget would mean for New York and for our park system and for New Yorkers and for parks workers themselves. We also release the open space profiles, which is a snapshot of parks access and green space in each community district, alongside demographic and public health data. And this is a resource for advocates on the local level to use, advocating for improving, expanding parkland in their district. I'm here to talk about our primary campaign, which is the 1% for Parks campaign. New Yorkers for Parks and the 400+ member Play Fair Coalition are calling on Mayor Adams to allocate 1% of the city expense budget to the Department of Parks and Recreation. This would be about $1 billion in a $100 billion budget. This is something that he has committed to, and we're trying to hold him to his word. A little bit of budget history. Up until the 1970s, parks received over 1% of the operating budget for parks. The fiscal crisis in the 1970s came around, and major cuts were made to avoid bankruptcy. At that point, parks was cut to 0.5%. And the issue is that as the city has recovered, its economy has come roaring back and its population has grown. Parks budget has remained at just 0.6%. So that's all to say that this isn't a radical new proposition. It's actually lower than what historically it has been. When you compare it to other city agencies' growth in the past 40 years, 50 years, you see how far we're lagging behind. Other agencies, have grown by as much as 165%, and the total city expense budget has grown by 127%. We've only grown by 72%. So we're not keeping up with other agencies or the growth of the city in any way. It also helps to look at comparing us to other major cities. Nearly every other major American city spends between 1% and 5% of its budget on parks. And they also spend significantly more per capita, despite having a lot less parkland than us. We have 30,000 acres of parkland and a minuscule budget to take care of it. So parks are, they're a public-facing agency. And there's the expense budget goes primarily towards staffing and maintenance, which is people in the parks maintaining these spaces and keeping them up to quality standards. Because of this disinvestment, we've seen population growth of over 1 million in the city, which means millions of more people and tourists using these spaces every day, a lot more wear and tear. We've seen a decline in total number of parks workers by 1,000. So the workforce is dwindling and they don't have the resources they need to take care of these issues. A lot of the issues that you guys are bringing up, maintenance issues and parks in your district, has to do with a workforce spread too thin. A couple of numbers that illustrate this. NYC Parks has 1 gardener for every 114 acres. San Francisco and Chicago have 1 for every 18. So you can imagine the difference in the quality. Rec centers. NYC Parks manages all the rec centers throughout the city. And ideally, these rec centers can be, vibrant community centers. They can offer programming and athletic facilities, but not with such a depleted budget. They end up being kind of under-maintained gyms in a lot of cases. Another kind of stark contrast is that the NYPD overtime budget is like nearly $50 million more than the entire operating budget for maintaining all 30,000 acres of parkland in New York City. We surveyed park stewards in the Play Fair Coalition, and they gave us some interesting data. Everybody's seeing 85% are seeing increase in usership in the last 3 years, specifically outside of the busy season. So people are using their parks all throughout the year. COVID showed us this, and it continues to be the case. The issue is that a lot of the parks workers are hired seasonally. So there's vast swaths of the year when parks are very, very badly understaffed. And the parks are seeing high usership during those times. 53% are also saying are also expressing safety concerns in their park, which aligns with what the mayor has released in his management report in 2023 about reported crimes against persons and property in parks in that time frame. We think that this is an issue of staffing as well. We think that PEP officers, Parks Enforcement Patrol, as well as just regular parks workers having a uniform presence in these parks, which frequently can can, you know, not see a PEP officer for days and days. We think that that is a major significant deterrent, and that an increase in funding, increase in and strengthening that workforce would reduce incidents in parks. A little bit about what the 1% would mean for the city as a whole, and also individual parks on the neighborhood, district, community level. Better maintenance, staff building relationships with community members, quicker repairs, avoiding longer closures, avoiding the kinds of neglected maintenance issues that get put off so long that they end up becoming capital issues. Our park system is our greatest defense against climate change, extreme weather, flooding, urban heat island effect, cleaner air. We all know all the work that our parks do for us. They also have measurable economic benefits, generating and saving billions of dollars for New Yorkers every year. So the mayor has supported this as borough president, as a mayoral candidate, as the mayor. He's repeatedly and publicly reaffirmed his commitment to this funding increase. However, he obviously hasn't followed through. 44 council members, nearly every council member is in support of this. No council members are actively opposed. And on top of that, this number needs to be updated. It's now around 11,500 people have signed our 1% for Parks petition, just regular New Yorkers adding their name to this cause. So reason I'm here today is to call on Community Board 11 to issue a letter of support for this campaign. This is something we all know how important parks are for our physical health and our mental health and the strength of our communities. This is what we think is the baseline for an equitably and adequately funded park system is this 1%. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Carl. That's a great initiative, and I'm sure you heard our conversations. We completely agree with you. Is there any questions for New Yorkers for Parks?
Are you aware that Councilman Bill Perkins years ago, he campaigned for 2% of the budget? That was he campaigned for?
That's great. We definitely think 1% is the floor and not the ceiling, right? Like you look at those other cities, 2, 3, 4, 5%, much better staffed, much better outcomes for community members. But getting to that 1% right now, where right now it's sitting at a stubborn 0.6, and continues to face cuts with every round of the PEG cuts, et cetera. Our first priority is getting to that 1%.
Great, and I just have one, not a question. We thank you for providing the open space profiles. It's something that our committee references quite a bit. The one note I would make on those is that the open space per resident calculations are based on the inclusion of Randall's Island and Ward's Island, which while we love Randall's Island and Ward's Island, those are not elements that are connected directly to the, neighborhood of East Harlem. And it would be helpful to have the analysis of those numbers with and without Randall's and Ward's Island, if possible.
That's super helpful. Yeah, I'll bring that to my colleague's attention.
Great, Jewel?
Just a question about your slides there. Are these up-to-date slides and information? Because when you listed the council members, you said 44, and there's more than 44. So was that an up-to-date list?
I understand there's obviously been turnover and redistricting, et cetera. So there is some information in that slide that might be out of date, but the number stands at people standing support around 44.
All 51 are in support of this, all 51?
44 are. The ones who are not have not actively come out against it. We just haven't been able to get a yes or a no from those people, and we're working on it.
Thank you. Just let me know. You said 44.
So we're hoping to come to the mayor with letters from every community board, support from every council member, and basically make as strong of a case as possible for this, what we think is long overdue investment.
Great. Well, if there are no other questions, our process is, as we stated earlier, to review this over the course of the next month, and then we'll take a vote at our next meeting in November. Does that fit within your timeline?
Yep, that's great.
Great, awesome. Well, we look forward to, we'll send you any questions if they come up. Otherwise, we will revisit this as an old business at our next meeting. Thank you so much, Carl,
Okay,
for
thank you so
your
much.
advocacy.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. All right. Is there any old business? I know, I don't know why. I look at the screen. Is there any old business? Any new business?
Question.
Yes.
So in the agenda, there was some mention of local law 97. Is that tabled or?
Oh, we
it's-
made an announcement at the very beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Do you want me to reread it?
No.
We shared a link in
Yeah,
the
there's a
same
link.
email. There's videos, there's a lot of information on it.
I know.
And a public hearing on the 24th.
Oh, you were just like, just information.
announced.
Oh, okay, you're just, because I was prepared to discuss it.
Oh, goodness. Well, if you'd like to do a report back. All right. I think we can just move on to, if there's no new business or old business, we can just go to roll call. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Let's go home. Thank you, everyone. This is really, really great.
Okay, it was very productive. Very productive. Good meeting. Coffee.
It is unfortunate to hear like Central Park stuff in relationship.
And they did the bathroom before
I remember. Let me just call your names. and we're gonna get out of
Let's get
here.
the
Yeah,
names.
Get you out of here. Rosa Diaz,
Here.
Jessica Elliott,
Here.
David Giordano, Jewel Jones.
Here.
Connie Lee,
Present.
Malik is out, Kevin Quinones is excused, after
Present.
Russell,
President.
on Michelle.
Present and good night.
Thank you, everyone.
I know we can, but I need a coffee.
Are you gonna actually say the word? The meeting is.
No, the meeting is adjourned.
Adjourn that.
Good night. Thank you.
Right. No.
I can't believe we're done at 8:30.